Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Hanazira binti Kamaruddin and matric number 2110372. We are from Group N and today our group will explain about resolving Shia Sunni sectarianism and nationalism, addressing lesson from the Quran and Sunnah, and my part will be introduced deliverables and goals of the project, also the background of the project. First, we look to the deliverables and goals of the project. Shia Sunni sectarianism and nationalism continue to pose significant challenges to unity within the Muslim Ummah. Despite numerous studies addressing these issues, a gap remains in exploring their resolution through a comprehensive Islamic framework. So, the goal of this project is to examining lessons from the Quran and Sunnah to address sectarianism and nationalism effectively and provide strategies that promote harmony, tolerance, and collective identity among Muslims, offering solutions rooted in Islamic principles to overcome divisions and foster unity. Next, there are three research questions in this project. First, how are sectarianism and nationalism defined within the context of Shia-Sunni relations? Second, what implicit factors have contributed to the emergence of political-theological states rooted in Shia and Sunni ideologies? And third, what the Quran and Sunnah say about sectarianism and nationalism? Meanwhile, the objective in this project is to explain the definition of sectarianism and nationalism within the context of Shia Sunni. Next, to examine implicit factors that have contributed to the emergence of political theological states rooted in Shia and Sunni ideologies. And lastly, to elaborate the lesson from the Quran and Sunnah in addressing sectarianism and nationalism.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Aisha Noma. My metric number 2218350. I will be explaining the methodology part of this research. This study uses qualitative research method of library-based research. We uses the Quran and major tafsirs like those of Sayyid Qutb and authentic hadiths from such as Sahih Muslim and Bukhari to explore the issues of Shia-Sunni sectarianism and nationalism. Next is the executive summary of the research. The research identifies a significant gap in political, economic, and sociological analysis of sectarianism while neglecting Islamic solutions rooted in the Quran and Sunnah. The key findings of the study emphasizes that politicization of theological differences and external intervention have deepened divisions, necessitating a return to the core teaching of Islam, which is unity. Ultimately, this research aims to contribute to unity and reconciliation by offering solutions according to Islamic teachings. Finally, this study concludes with recommendation encouraging Muslims to embrace the principles of unity and justice engraved in Islam. This is the executive summary of the research.
Okay, now we move to the background of the project. And I will explain the current issues that happen in Syria in respect of Shia and Sunni. First, Syria is a country of the ethnic and religious diversity. The majority of the population is Sunni, while the Alawite is the one of the branch of Shia, form a significant minority. The Assad family, which has ruled Syria for more than 5 decades, is of Alawite origin. The leadership of Bashar al-Assad, who took power in year 2000, has been associated with the repression of Sunni groups and the preservation of power among the Alawite elite. Next, the conflict in Syria, which began in 2011, has developed a complete civil war involving variety of political, ethnic, and religious factors. One of the main aspects of this conflict is the tension between Sunni and Shia groups, which has deepened the division within Syrian society. Right? In December 2024, the Assad family's rule ended after opposition fighter took control of Damascus, and President Bashar al-Assad reportedly fled the country. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham from Syria is the one who had led the rebel group, has been on the offensive since late November and has managed to drive government forces out of key cities such as Aleppo, Hama, and Homs. Next, the conflict has deepened the divide between Sunni and Shia in Syria, especially when the intervention of foreign powers such as Iran, which support the Assad regime, and Gulf states that support Sunni rebel groups. Therefore, this study aims to address the gap by exploring lessons from the Quran and Sunnah because many studies focus on the political and economic analysis of the conflict in Syria, but pay little attention to Islamic approach for resolving sectarianism and rebuilding nationalism. For example, based on previous studies, most analysis of the conflict in Syria have focused on political and economic aspects such as authoritarian leadership, geopolitical power, and economic impact. But there is a lack of attention to conflict resolution from a proper Islamic perspective, especially in the context of overcoming sectarianism based on Islamic teachings and rebuilding nationalism by reinstilling national spirit based on Islamic principles. So that's all for me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ain Kamarina Maisara binti Abdurrani with metric number 2222 at 72. In this video, I am going to present the literature review of this research. The first part of the literature review is key findings from existing research. The first point is political and historical causes. Political struggles have been identified as the primary reason for sectarian conflicts, surpassing theological differences. Studies mention how historical events such as the marginalization of Shia communities in India during colonial times created deep divisions that persisted over generations. Current tensions like those in Iraq are tied to unresolved historical issues, with political actors struggling to balance sectarian and nationalist demands. This finding underlined that sectarianism is not merely a religious problem, but a deeply entrenched political and historical issue. Addressing these roots is essential, as they often serve as the foundation for modern conflicts, making reconciliation challenging without political and historical acknowledgement. The next point is theology versus socio-economic issues. Previous research highlights that theological differences are often overstated as the main cause of sectarianism. Instead, political and socio-economic factors play a much larger role. Studies have found that religion is frequently used as a tool for political agendas, with leaders amplifying divisions to achieve their goals. For example, in the research, they mentioned that differences in interpreting Islamic law are framed as irreconcilable, but in reality, they are often amplified to mask deeper political or economic inequalities. These findings demonstrate the importance of addressing the underlying political and socio-economic grievances that fuel sectarian identities rather than focusing solely on theological differences. The last point is external political manipulation. Research has shown that external powers such as Saudi Arabia and Iran often exploit sectarianism to serve their political goals. This exploitation is typically framed in religious terms to appeal to sectarian identities, but it primarily serves strategic interests such as gaining influence or weakening rival powers. These powers use strategies like hate speech and divisive language to deepen distrust and hostility, further destabilizing the affected regions. This highlights how external manipulation not only sustains existing conflicts but also creates new ones. It also shows the importance of addressing the role of regional powers and reducing their ability to influence internal sectarian dynamics. Next, I'm going to present the second part of the literature review, which is research gap and future directions. So the main research gap in most of the articles we found is lack of faith-based solutions. While most research focuses on political and historical aspects, there is limited attention to solutions grounded in Islamic teachings. The Quran emphasizes unity and avoiding division, as seen in Surah Al Imran verse 103, which encourages believers to remain steadfast in their faith and work together as one community. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ unification of tribes in Medina provides a practical example of how shared values and dialogue can overcome divisions. This gap suggests that incorporating Islamic values into modern conflict resolutions frameworks could offer more holistic and sustainable solutions to sectarian tensions. Future directions for the research is the need for a balanced approach. Current studies prioritize political and historical analysis but often neglect the integration of spiritual and ethical frameworks. This imbalance limits the scope of potential solutions as it focuses on external factors without addressing the internal values that promote harmony. Combining Islamic teachings with political insights could provide a more comprehensive approach to resolving sectarian issues. For instance, the emphasis on mutual respect, justice, and community solidarity within Islamic values could complement political solutions by addressing the emotional and ethical dimensions of conflict. These frameworks could also help counteract the narratives of hate and division that are often used by external factors to deepen sectarian divides.
How are sectarianism and nationalism defined within the context of Shia-Sunni relations? Sectarianism in Shia-Sunni relations is the process by religious differences are transformed into sources of identity, including division leads to the political and social polarization. Though the theological gulf between Shia and Sunni Islam may begin with the dispute after the death of Prophet Muhammad regarding who should lead the nation's Muslim community, sectarianism often goes beyond theology, serving as a means of political control and suppression of dissent. Sectarianism has emerged as an instrument of political domination and socialization, as evidenced by sectarianization of state policies, cultural norms, and collective identities. Often in response to historical resentments and contemporary geopolitical agendas, the polarization is further reinforced by narrative of victimhood or superiority depending on the historical and current status of a sect within a particular society. Nationalism. It relates of a collective sense of who we are based on common ground. For example, Sunni-dominant states like Saudi Arabia or Shia-led governments like Iran often intertwine religious and national identities. They marginalize minorities and reinforcing sectarian exclusivity. In the context of Shia-Sunni politics, nationalism may serve as a means of bridging sectarian divides through the promotion of a common national identity, but it can also worsen divisions when one sect is viewed as embodying the state. Sunni-dominant regions such as Saudi Arabia and Shia-led governments such as Iran blur the lines between religious and national identities and marginalized minorities while further entrenching sectarian inclusivity. Nationalism becomes a double-edged sword facilitating coexistence or fueling antagonism. Next, what implicit factors have contributed to the emergence of political theological states rooted in Shia and Sunni ideologies? The emergence of political theological states, especially within the Muslim world, is driven by a combination of variable, socio-political, and ideological components. One key component is the variable memory of devout experts as they related with the administration in Islamic history, where political authenticity was regularly advocated through the devout system. This generation and legacy remains influential, especially in social orders, where the secular ideologies they fail to resolve the social and political issues. For example, the decline of secular nationalist ideologies like Pan-Arabism and socialism in the Arab and Muslim world has left for a gap for political system grounded in religious identity. These movements appeal to disillusioned populations by promising a return to Islamic values and a structured form of governance. Discontent with the corruption or ineffectiveness of secular regimes make this religiously based system more attractive. Finally, political theological states emerge in response to historical grievance and current political dynamics. So, I will explore practical solutions to resolve this division, focusing on on the roles of individual Muslim, the youth, and the collective Ummah. Nationalism and sectarianism is seriously a challenge to the Muslim Ummah unity and reduce its power as a whole. In order to promote harmony among the Muslims, the Quran and the Sunnah place a strong emphasis on the value of unity, respect for one another, and peaceful cohabitation. And addressing these differences is a crucial duty for individual Muslims. As Allah mentioned in the Quran in the Surah Al-Imran, "A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim, wa'tasimu bihablillahi jami'an wa la tafarraqu." So Allah said, hold firmly to the rope of Allah altogether and do not become divided. So they must exemplify the Quran message of respect for one another. This call for focusing divisive language, abstaining from sectarian prejudice, and fostering an environment of communication and comprehension. In order to prevent misconceptions that encourage sectarianism, individuals should also look for information from reliable Islamic sources to avoid from misunderstanding that fuel sectarianism and also nationalism. As the Ummah's future, the youth have the potential and capability to heal and unite people to Islam. In contrast to narratives of divide, educational initiatives that emphasize intersectarian discussion and share Islamic principles can foster empathy and solidarity among young people. Their effort also can be strengthened by promoting the use of digital platforms to spread message of unity based on the teachings of the Quran and Sunnah. As a conclusion, the individuals, young people, and the Ummah, they can overcome the sectarian and the nationalists by adhering to the teachings and the guidance of Quran and Sunnah, and also they share their common identity as Muslims. The true unity of Islam is when the Ummah embracing Islam's diversity while upholding its central principles of compassion, justice, and unity.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Adelina Sofia binti Muhammad Samri, my metric number 2317874. Today, I will be presenting about supporting evidences from the Quran and Sunnah regarding our topic, resolving Shia-Sunni sectarianism and nationalism. So, the issue of sectarianism and nationalism of Shia-Sunni sectarians in particular have become the major proof of the split within Islam, historically weakening the potential strengths of Ummah. Furthermore, the ideology of nationalism makes the tension worse by placing an ethnic background ahead over the shared identity in this context in Sharia. Therefore, to resolve this contemporary hostility requires a return to the teaching of Quran and Sunnah. The verse says, "And hold firmly together to the rope of Allah and do not be divided." The rope of Allah refers to the religion of Islam or its Sharia. The verse was revealed due to a circumstance of the tribe of Aus and Khosraj that were having conflict due to the breakup of past hostility. Later, Prophet Muhammad came and reconciled between the two tribes by reciting this verse of 103 Ali Imran. The event portrays how a different sect or tribe can be united with the re-acknowledgement of shared identity, which is a faith to one God Most High. The split of Shia-Sunni can be resolved with the revival of shared faith and unity. According to Said Qutb, the strength and unity of the Muslim Ummah is rooted in implementing the Islamic way of life. Islamic way of life is actually based on the two pillars. The first pillar is pillars of faith and the pillars of brotherhood, which reject ignorance, nationalism, and sectarianism. Instead, it placing ahead adherence to the commands of God and the bond of brotherhood, in other way, ukhuwah. It is the brotherhood that unites hearts and transcends historical ethnicities and sects, as demonstrated in the Quranic verse. In fact, nationalism is not something that aims for togetherness among different ethnicities, because the nature of the concept is causing division instead of holding to the same rule. In addition, the next verse, which is the verse of 10 of Surah Al-Hujurat, says, "The believers are but one brotherhood. So make peace between your brothers, and be mindful of Allah so you may be shown mercy." This verse clearly states that Muslims need to stand as a firmly united Ummah globally. Said Qutb advocates for an united leadership under a qualified Muslim leader or Khalifa, who upholds justice and Islamic civilization, or we can say Islamic authority, aligning with what the Quranic verse underlines to ensure love, peace, and harmony that transcends different geographies. Thus, the new governmental system in Syria after the fall of Assad has to lead reformation from a sectarian domination to harmonious and cooperative existence of Shia Sunni. In a hadith of Sahih Muslim, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ made three special supplications to Allah on behalf of his ummah. The Prophet Muhammad said, I asked my Lord three things that he has granted me two, but withheld one. The last part of the hadith says, and I beg my Lord that there should not be bloodshed among the people of my ummah, but he did not grant it. So, the last part of the hadith shows that Allah does not grant the third request due to a profound wisdom behind. Why? Allah has promised to protect the Ummah from the outward disasters. However, the inward disaster falls to the responsibilities of Ummah themselves in resolving and maintaining a sustainable brotherhood. It emphasized the fact that every Syrian Muslims hold the duty to make peace and advocates for an Islamic civilization in their country rather than emphasizing differences of sects and ideologies. Now, I will be presenting about the findings and results of our project. Hypothetically, sectarianism in the context of Shia Sunni in Syria can be defined as a division and conflict arise from the manipulation of certain religious sectarian identities. It is obviously understood that in Syria, the sectarian of Alawite Shia is the most dominant sectarian that dramatically had reformed the politics, economic, and social in the country. Meanwhile, nationalism in the context of Shia Sunni in Syria can be defined as a loyalty to the specific religious sect, thereby causing the dominant sect to uphold a preferable political system and undermining shared faith as a Muslim with the other sects. Therefore, the basic resolution to the issue of sectarianism and nationalism in Syria is nothing but a return to the fundamental principles which are Tawhid, Taqwa, and Ihsan, as well as understanding of Islamic heritage from the Quranic verses and Sunnah, as well as scholarly views that we have mentioned in our studies. The derivation of lessons are as follows. First, prioritizing shared faith between Shia and Sunni Muslims through education, which derived from the verse of 103 of Surah Al-Imran. The new government of Syria should establish an educational institution that gathers both sects, thereby providing service of Tawhid, Taqwa, and Ihsan. Next, upholding brotherhood across ethnicities and backgrounds, derived from verse 10 of Surah Al-Hujurat, Sayyid Qutb Insights, and Hadith Sahih Bukhari 2442. Each Muslim must defend each other's, regardless of their identities, as a means to create a just life within a community. Third, remembering the blessings of God Most High, derived from verse 103 of Surah Al-Imran and the story of Aus and Khazraj. This can be done by conducting peace inter-community dialogue between Shia and Sunni.
To conclude, this study has highlighted the pressing issue of Shia-Sunni sectarianism and nationalism, which continue to pose significant challenges to the unity of Muslim Ummah. By examining these divisions through the lens of Islamic teachings, we have identified that such conflicts stem not only from theological differences, but also from political manipulation, socio-economic disparities, and historical grievances. The Quran and Sunnah emphasizes unity and brotherhood. which calls on the Muslims to hold firmly to the hope of Allah and reject division. Our findings show that adhering to these principles can pave the way for overcoming sectarian conflicts and nationalism. Moreover, this research addresses a crucial gap in existing studies by providing Islamic solutions, such as fostering intersectarian dialogue, promoting education on Islamic values, addressing injustice, and empowering individuals and leaders to champion unity. Ultimately, we must remember that the strength of this ummah lies in its solidarity. By embracing the Quranic call for unity and following the prophetic example, we can work together to resolve conflict and build a harmonious future. Let us take these lessons forward and strive to strengthen the bonds of brotherhood within our communities. Thank you for listening.